morning, everybody. He is risen. He's risen indeed. And today we're going to continue our talk about resurrection, and particularly we're going to talk about hope, Christian hope, which is very different from the way that we normally use the word hope in our regular conversations. We're going to talk about an event that took place where Luke is the only one who records it. And it takes place in chapter 24, right after his description of the resurrection. And it probably takes place afternoon, early evening, something like that. We find out that a man named Cleopas and another person, we presume it's probably his wife, whose name was Mary, who was actually present when Jesus died on the cross, are walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus. So it's a path, a road of about 7 miles long. Probably they're going home. They were part of the community that had followed Jesus, and they're very dejected right now and feeling very defeated because they believe Jesus is dead. And they're talking about all that's taken place, Luke tells us. And then a stranger comes and joins them on the path. And we don't know who it is. Actually, we know who it is, but they are kept from finding out who it is right away. Perhaps it's because they're so sad and so preoccupied with all the events that have taken place that they don't recognize who it really is. And so we find out that the stranger is the one who actually starts the conversation. We pick it up in verse 17. It says, the stranger says, "What are you discussing so intently as you walk along?" Now Cleopas answers rather abruptly. He says, "You must be the only one in Jerusalem who has not heard about all the things that have happened here in these last few days." "What things?" Jesus asked. "The things that happened to Jesus, the man from Nazareth. They said he was a prophet who did powerful things, powerful miracles, and he was a mighty teacher in the eyes of God and all the people. But our leading priests and the other religious leaders handed him over to be condemned to death, and they crucified him. We had hoped he was the Messiah who had come to rescue Israel. This all happened 3 days ago." This little phrase, "we had hoped," is really a powerful one. They had hoped that Jesus was the one, that Jesus was going to be the one who was going to set them free from the Roman rule. Sometimes we have hopes in our life, don't we, that things would have turned out differently. Have you ever had a hope like that? Maybe you're living in one of those right now. They certainly felt hopeless, and maybe you do too. Sometimes when we use that word hope, we are expressing our desire for something to happen good in the future, but we really don't know whether it's going to happen or not. We sometimes say in Arizona, I hope it rains. Or this year we're saying, boy, I hope the Suns win the championship. So Cleopas and Mary had hoped that Jesus, as I said, would set Israel free from Rome's rule over Israel. But now he had been crucified, just like many others who had come before him, who could claim to be this deliverer or the Messiah, the one whom the prophets had written about before. They had heard some wild claims already that Jesus' body was not in the tomb. Maybe somebody stole his body, but they know that there was no hope, because dead people stay dead. Dead people stay in the tomb. And so they were exhausted, and they were on their way home. But the stranger has been listening to their pain, to the pain in their heart, and he's listening to everything that as they've described it, and he begins to explain to them that God's plan for the world started way back in creation, and it included Moses and the prophets and all the rest, and that what happened to this one man, this Messiah that they were describing, was actually part of God's plan to defeat hopelessness. But their response is, how in the world can this be the right person? Because he's dead now. Now, when Christian writers speak about hope and when Christians speak about hope, it's not just wishful thinking. It's something very different. It's the confident expectation that what God has promised is going to happen. So let's get back to the story now. It's getting late. It's getting late, and they're close to the end of their journey, and they're nearing their destination. And in verse 29, it says that they begged him to stay the night with us, since it's getting late. So together they went home. They invited him, come and share our hospitality, come and share a meal with us tonight. And while they were eating the meal, as they were beginning, it happened. Verse 30, it says, when he, the stranger, Jesus, took the bread and blessed it, it says, then he broke it and he gave it to them. And maybe it happened when they saw the nail scars in his hands and his wrists, or maybe they saw his face in a different light. But listen to what Luke writes. It says, suddenly their eyes were open and they recognized him, and he disappeared. And they said to each other, didn't our hearts burn within us as he talked with us on the road and explained the scriptures to us? They had hoped. We had hoped. And now their eyes had been opened. Now they saw hope. And hope's name was Jesus. Jesus, the one who died and now has defeated death through the resurrection. It's God's victory over sin and guilt. It's God's victory over failure and confusion. And it's an open invitation to any person to trust their lives completely to the one who has defeated death and offers what is really the only true life. Hope is the confident promise that there is a good future despite the present circumstances. And hope, of course, is Jesus. My prayer for you today is that you are trusting Jesus every single day because he is your hope. He is the only one in whom it is worth putting your hope. Even though the circumstances of life today seem like they're so confused. Talk with him about it today. And if you've trusted your life to him, thank him for that. And if you've never done that, he wants to come in. He wants you to trust your life to him today. And your life will be filled with that confident hope every day. Have an amazing day.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.